What is up, everybody? Eric here from That's Wrestling. Thanks for joining me tonight after the Wednesday night Dynamite from AEW. I am live on YouTube right now, so if you're listening to this on podcast, then look at that, I'm going through. All right, let's stop that. If you're listening to this on podcast, you can check me out over on YouTube. I will be doing this show live after Wednesday night Dynamite, so go check it out. If you want to send me an email or get a hold of me, you can send an email to eric@thatswrestling.com. So thanks for joining me tonight. So this show, there was a few things that were good. There are a few things that were not so good. Some things are still kind of missing. Some things they improved on a bit, and there are just a few missteps, but overall good show again. So 3 weeks in a row, very enjoyable show, so nothing to really complain about as far as that is concerned. So going off right after the Pyro, we had SEU come out for their match. They're going to have the first round tag tournament match with Best Friends as they're coming out to the ring. The Lucha Bros end up attacking SCU. Phoenix runs Kaz into the ring post and into the barricade on the outside. And then Christopher Daniels is given a pile driver on the ramp by Pentagon, and he is knocked out. Then Scorpio Sky comes out before Phoenix can hit whatever he was going to try to hit on Kaz, and the Lucha Bros run off. At this point, Christopher Daniels is still laid out on the ramp, and then a whole bunch of people come out. The Young Bucks come out, and they put Christopher Daniels on a backboard, and then they take him away, and Scorpio Sky goes to the ref and says, Christopher Daniels is out, so I'm willing to take his place for the match. So the ref lets him come in. Of course, Scorpio Sky is just wearing street clothes at this point. He has kind of dressy pants on and regular belt, and he's just wearing sneakers. He has a bag with him, so he tapes up his wrists, and then the Best Friends come out. For the start of the match, Kaz and Chucky T started off. Chucky T works over Kaz's back since it was run into the railing on the outside before the match started by the Lucha Bros. Beretta gets tagged in. They double team Kaz a little bit, and then Chucky T hits a pile driver on him and then hits an assisted cutter. Scorpio comes in to help, but Chucky T actually ends up pulling off Scorpio Sky's shoe and throws it to the top of the ramp. Best Friends work over Kaz some more, and then double stomp to Scorpio Sky's back when they're on the outside. That was pretty cool. Beretta ends up hitting a spear, and then finally the action moves back into the ring. Beretta and Kazarian are the legal men at this point. Kazarian tries to fight out of the Best Friend's corner. He's in there for quite a while. And then Kaz is sitting up on the top rope. Beretta gets onto Chucky T's shoulders, and then they give Kazarian basically an assisted superplex from that position. Trent gets a 2 count at that point. After a little bit more time, in the Best Friends corners, Kazarian finally gets out and gets a tag to Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky is at this point fighting with one shoe. So he's wearing one shoe and one sock. That's what he's fighting in. He runs wild, takes out the Best Friends, and then it moves to the outside with Trent and Scorpio Sky out on the ramp. Chucky T goes for a dive, but Scorpio Sky pushes Beretta in the way, so Chucky T ends up taking out Beretta instead. And then Kaz hits an over-the-top to the floor Hurricanrana, and then Scorpio Sky does a massive dive. While celebrating, he actually pulls off his own shoe and throws it. And then somehow gets thrown back into the ring, and then it just kind of gets brushed off to the side. The crowd actually starts chanting, he's got no shoes, or at least that's what I think they were saying. I'm not totally sure. But then after that, Kazarian gets tagged back in. He's selling his back. He hits a springboard leg drop on Beretta. Chucky T hits a blind tag, and Best Friends hit Soul Food. Best Friends go for the hug, but Scorpio Sky breaks it up. All four men are in the ring at this point, and Chucky T hits a rising knee, and then Beretta actually hits a sexy Chucky knee on Kazarian, and then Best Friends do their hug. Kazarian is on Chucky T's back, and Trent hits a doomsday knee off the top rope. Trent gets tagged in, and then Kazarian is on the apron by the ramp. Trent looks like he wants to hit a pile driver out on the apron, but Scorpio Sky breaks it up. Chucky T tries to get involved. Scorpio Sky throws Chucky T into the barricade on the outside at this point, and then Kaz hits a backdrop on Beretta on the apron. They finally get into the ring, and Kazarian does a powerbomb at the same time as Scorpio Sky basically kicks Beretta in the back of the head. It was a really weird finisher. I'm not sure that's how they meant it to go. It was kind of sloppy. But in the end, SCU picks up the 3 count. Best Friends were kind of working a little heel for this particular match. It was a good match, but it was nothing spectacular or anything like that. So SCU is moving on in the tag tournament, and the Best Friends have been eliminated. So after that, we have a squash match. We just had some jobbers come out. It was John Silver and Alex Reynolds. I put in my notes at jobbers. And they were facing Santana and Ortiz. Really nothing happened. It was a squash match, nothing serious. Santana and Ortiz win with the street sweeper for the finish, and that was pretty much it. As they are leaving, Jericho comes up on the big screen, and he cuts a pretty basic promo, just challenging the Young Bucks to face Santana and Ortiz at the pay-per-view. So that was pretty much it. And then something that I really liked, and I hope we see more of, and I was hoping we were going to see more of during this show, was there was a great Cody vignette talking about the title match that he has coming up. And it starts off, Cody's at his house. You know, he's just kind of staring off, and Brandy comes in, and she's just running down this massive schedule that he has. And then Brandy's talking about Cody challenging Jericho for the title. And then really there's just a bunch of people that all talk about Cody and things that Cody does. You know, there's Brandy, JR, DDP, Tony Schiavone, Cody's mother, MJF, and then there was just some videos of, or some scenes of Cody training. Really, it was a awesome video package hyping the pay-per-view match, and I really was hoping that we would get something like that for this next match, but we didn't. And again, further into the show, there was another time where we should have gotten a video package, but didn't. So I don't know what's going on, because I know there was video packages. I don't know for this particular match. So the next match up was Britt Baker versus Riho for the women's title. Again, we had zero build for this match, pretty much. They had tagged a couple times with each other as teammates, so it's not like there's any bad blood or anything. There's been no promos still for Britt Baker. We haven't had a promo from her. When she was on commentary on week 1, she really didn't say much. So we still have really nothing from her. Riho has only had the one short video package before the first match with Nyla Rose. So again, we're still not. We have no character around these two, but they're having a title match. So the entrance music during both of their entrances was a lot louder versus how it normally was or how it normally is. So I couldn't really tell the reaction that much. But from what I could hear, it sounded pretty good. Everybody was cheering. Riho's might have been a little bit louder, but again, the music was a lot louder than the crowd, or just how it was mixed. I'm not saying that the crowd was silent or anything, but it was just how it was mixed on the broadcast. Before the bell, a good Riho chant breaks out at that point. Right off the bat, a little bit of chain wrestling. Then there was a really sloppy arm drag. Britt goes for her submission, which I had suggested on the Twitter page, and I don't know if they took my suggestion or it just happened to be it, but they are calling Britt's submission the lockjaw, which is what I wrote and said that that's what they should call it. So if they are naming it because I suggested it, that's pretty cool. Riho hit a nice roll through stomp. She loves those stomps. She hits a nice running knee in the corner, and then she hits a suplex on Britt. Britt moves out of the way of another double stomp from the top ropes. Britt ends up hitting a sling blade. Again, looks a lot better than Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins does like the worst sling blade in the world. Compared to, I mean, Britt Baker isn't that great, but it's better than Seth Rollins. And oh man, who else? Finn Balor is horrible as well. You got to look at Tanahashi. Tanahashi does the best sling blade. She hits a sling blade, and then Britt hits a TKO, and then a running single leg drop kick, though I think she might have been going for a running knee. I don't know. It wasn't very clean. I couldn't really tell what they were going for that. Riho hits a few strikes and then hits a Northern Light suplex, goes for a single leg crab. Riho drags Britt back to the middle of the ring as she's trying to get to the ropes, but then Britt ends up getting over to the ropes. Riho immediately, like right after the break, she runs up to the top ropes, hits a double stomp off the top rope. Riho hits double knees to the back for a 2 count, and then misses another double knees. She goes like head first into the turnbuckle. Britt hits a ripcord forearm and then goes for the lockjaw, but she just can't get it, and she's just so focused on trying to get the submission that Riho kind of rolls a little bit and gets her into a pin, and she picks up the win, and Riho has retained the AEW Women's Championship. After the match, they shake hands. Wasn't sure how it was going to go, but it was kind of tentative, but they shook hands. Riho made her way out of the ring. It was a fine match. It was actually a pretty good match, but it wasn't anything super special. But again, solid match. Nothing super to complain about other than kind of that sloppy beginning. And then at this point, the announcers call back to Christopher Daniels. They say he's okay. It was just a stinger, so nothing serious. Obviously, that's, part of the storyline. And then next up, we had another tag tournament match. It's Jurassic Express versus Lucha Bros. But it was Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt and not Luchasaurus. So when I saw that, I wrote down in my notes, why is Luchasaurus not competing? That really makes no sense. And I believe he was the one who was always on the ad. And then the announcer said that Luchasaurus had suffered a non-contact thigh injury. So I'm not sure if Luchasaurus is suffering from a real injury or if it's kayfabe. I'm just not sure at this point. If they're saying if it's legit and they're saying it's a non-contact thigh injury, I'd say maybe it's a torn muscle or something like that. That's what I would gather from that particular wording. So I guess it wasn't maybe the Lucha Bros taking him out in the back. That's I don't know. So I guess we will find out more probably this coming week. Not sure. Anyways, this was actually a super fun match. Marco Stunt, he just bumps around like crazy, and he does all these insane moves, and he just takes a beating, but he also can give out some pretty awesome athletic moves. So Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy, right at the beginning, they're kind of hitting some of these tag team moves. Marco hits an assisted Rana, and then Penta has Marco on him, and Marco's trying to hit like a DDT or something, and Pentagon throws him off, and he throws him towards Phoenix, and Marco ends up grabbing Phoenix and hitting a DDT on Phoenix. They do dives to the outside, and then things kind of turn around. Penta hits a super kick on Marco, and then a thrust kick on Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy hits a kick of his own on Phoenix. Phoenix hits this. So Marco is perched up on the top rope turnbuckle, and Phoenix has a hold of Jungle Boy's arm. So Phoenix kind of jumps up onto the ropes, does a springboard, hits Marco Stunt with an enziguri, and then while he's coming back down to the ground, does an arm drag on Jungle Boy. It was a really cool move. You know, it's something Phoenix likes to do, these kind of springboard combination moves into that arm drag. I've seen him do it a couple times. Phoenix then does a dive to the outside on Jungle Boy at this point. Pentagon hits a huge fisherman driver on Marco Stunt for a 2 count. Phoenix then takes out where am I here? Phoenix takes out Jungle Boy on the outside, and then Penta is in the ring landing a bunch of kicks on Marco's legs, and then we go into commercial. During the commercial break, Pentagon and Phoenix hit a couple huge chops on Marco Stunt. The whole crowd is going shh to quiet down when he's going to hit these huge chops. The crowd starts chanting one more time, but they don't hit Marco with another chop at this point. Phoenix hits a super kick to Jungle Boy's legs while he's on the outside. So Jungle Boy was up on the apron, and Phoenix just kind of ran around the ring to the other side and like super kicked his legs out from under him. So the Lucha Bros are working super heel. They've been doing a lot of kind of underhanded things, and Phoenix has definitely been causing problems for Jungle Boy. He's not getting to tag in, so Pentagon just keeps working over Marco. Penta holds on to Marco above his head with one arm, so he has like Marco pressed over his head, and he's just holding him there with one arm, and then he throws him towards Phoenix, who hits Marco with a super kick in midair. Then we come back from commercial at that point. Penta is just destroying Marco's Stunt. Marco hits a couple palm strikes, and then he goes for a roll-up, and then he rolls out of that roll-up and hits a running knee. And then at this point, Phoenix and Jungle Boy gets tagged in at the same time. Jungle Boy hits a few moves, then he hits a backflip double knees. Marco Stunt hits a 450 splash. Jungle Boy hits a standing shooting star press, and then Jungle Boy is going for something. It looks maybe like a pile driver, or he's gonna lift Phoenix up for a power bomb or something like that. But Penta comes out, hits a destroyer. Phoenix gets the tag, and this is one of the really strange moments. Pentagon was already in the ring. He's like standing in the corner, his back against the turnbuckle, and Phoenix tags Pentagon, but he's already standing in the ring. How is that that's not a legal tag, but they treated it like a legal tag. So this is kind of one of those really stupid things that happened. He was completely in the ring. Penta hits a and then Penta gets Marco Stunt up into the package pile driver position, and Phoenix hits the foot stomp. So they hit the foot stomp package pile driver combo, pinning Marco Stunt for the win. So the Lucha Bros move on in the tag team tournament, and they will be facing. Oh, who are they facing next week? They are facing Private Party next week to continue on. So after this, we had a nice long commercial break, and then the match we're having is Pac and Moxley versus Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. The crowd is chanting happy birthday for Kenny. Right out of the gate, Omega attacks Moxley when Pac and Moxley turn their backs and they're kind of walking towards their ring, or towards their corner. Moxley and Omega started off in the ring. A few strikes, and then Hangman runs in and hits Moxley with a huge boot. Pac tags himself in at this point. They start to brawl for a bit. Omega hits a Kotaro Crusher, and then at this point, Moxley tags himself back in, starts working over Omega. Kenny starts to make a little bit of a comeback, but Moxley then buries a knee into Omega's stomach. Omega gets a tag to Hangman. Hangman just runs wild, taking out Moxley and Pac. He knocks Moxley off the apron to the floor over by the ramp, and then Hangman goes for goes up to the top rope like he's going to do his moonsault that he likes to do, but Pac actually distracts him, and Moxley pushes over Page, and Page off the top rope does a flat back bump onto the ring apron and then falls off to the floor. It looked like that sucked. That would not feel good at all. And then we go into the commercial. During the commercial, Pac hits a corkscrew dive onto Hangman on the outside. Moxley runs Omega into the railing. And then eventually Moxley and Hangman get back into the ring. Pac and Kenny are fighting on the outside. Kenny goes into the barrier. Moxley runs Hangman post to post a couple times, in the turnbuckle to turnbuckle, whatever you want to call it. Pac tags in. He does a snapmare and then a drop kick to the back of a sitting Hangman Page. And then Moxley tags in. Pac and Moxley hit a tandem suplex on Hangman, and then Pac taunts Omega because Hangman can't get over to Omega to make the tag. And then where are we here? Can't make the tag. Buries a boot into the stomach and then tags in Moxley. Moxley puts on a Texas Cloverleaf. Omega comes in to break it up, and then kind of at this point the match really picks up. I guess we probably came out of commercial break sometime around here. Pac comes in and sends Omega to the outside. Hangman is tossed out onto the apron. He misses a buckshot lariat, but then hits a discus lariat. Double tag at this point. Omega and Pac are now the legal men. Omega hits the You Can't Escape, which he's actually done 2 weeks in a row, which doesn't seem to happen very much. Or at least when he was in New Japan, he was like missing it all the time for like the last year that he was in there. He like every single time they either rolled out or got knees up. So it was a really useless move at that point, but he has hit it 2 weeks in a row. Mox comes in, but Omega hits him with a Snapdragon and then hits a Snapdragon suplex on Pac and then hits another Snapdragon on John Moxley. Omega does a dive to the outside onto Pac. Moxley does a dive onto both of them, and then Hangman does a moonsault off the top turnbuckle onto Moxley and Pac. Pac rolls into the ring, couple splashes in the corner, buckle bomb from Omega, and then a rolling elbow from Page, and then a power bomb from Omega, and then a standing shooting star press from Hangman. Moxley comes in to break up the pin from Pac, and then Moxley hits a slam. Omega hits him with a V-trigger. Pac Pac hits an over-the-top rope cutter onto Omega, and then Hangman sends Pac to the outside. Hangman hits this huge high-speed dive. He runs him all the way over to the barricade. And then at this point, Omega and Moxley are in the ring. They're just nose to nose, and then they get into this huge striking exchange. They're throwing forearms, they're throwing knees, headbutts, chops, V-trigger, and then Moxley hits a clothesline, turns Omega inside out, and then Moxley and Omega go to the outside on opposite sides of the ring. Omega grabs a barbed wire broom, Moxley grabs a barbed wire bat, and then Omega and Moxley get into the ring. They face off, and Omega takes a swing with the broom, and he misses, and then Moxley buries the handle of the bat into Omega's stomach, and Pac gets into the ring, and he grabs the broom, and he throws it to the outside, and he pulls the bat away from Moxley, and he throws that to the outside, and then they're just face-to-face yelling at each other, because Pac doesn't want to lose this match by disqualification because of something stupid Moxley does, because he obviously doesn't want it to affect his record. Moxley then gives him the middle finger, and then hits the paradigm shift on Pac and just walks out, leaving Pac by himself. So Pac is woozy, getting up to his feet. Hangman hits the buckshot lariat. Omega hits a V-trigger. Hangman hits Dead Eyes. Hangman picks up the victory for their team after that. So that was the end of that match. And then, hey, the announcers actually announce mostly what we're going to be seeing next week. So they have announced it's going to be SCU versus Dark Order. So that's a semifinals match. Then Lucha Bros versus Private Party, also a semifinals match for the tag team tournament. And then they mentioned that Britt Baker will be in action, and they'll be in her hometown of Pittsburgh. Young Bucks will also be in action. And then they have announced that next week it will be Moxley versus Pac. So that is probably going to be a pretty sweet match. Oh, the match, as far as quality-wise, the Omega, Hangman versus Pac and Moxley, excellent match. It was fast-paced, and there was just a lot going on. Very good match. So, excellent. Definitely go check it out if you have not seen it. And then we come up to the main event of the evening. We have Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho for the AEW heavyweight title match. For the heavyweight title in a street fight. So this is, again, where I was very disappointed that they did not have a video package before this match, because there is one on the AEW YouTube channel. Now, not everybody is watching the YouTube channel. So again, last week, there was a Jon Moxley promo put up on Twitter, a few hours before the show. It was an awesome promo. They didn't put it in the show. And here again, there's a promo that they put out on the YouTube channel with Darby Allin. Doesn't make it into the show. So they do that excellent video package with Cody, but that's really it as far as video packages go. But there was a promo that they filmed for Darby Allin that they put up on the YouTube channel. Not everybody is watching the YouTube channel. So you got to put these things in the show. You just got to. I don't know why they wouldn't put it. It was short. It was less than 2 minutes. There's no reason that these things can't be put into the show. So again, nothing from Britt Baker. We've had no promos from her at all. And we could have had a Moxley promo last week, but they didn't put it in. Could have had a promo from Darby Allin this week. They didn't put it in. So What are they doing? They have to get these characters developed, and they're just not they're producing the content, but they're not putting it into the show. They're putting it elsewhere and hoping people are going to see it. Now, I've seen it because I'm following them on Twitter and following their YouTube channel and whatnot. But like last week, the Moxley promo was uploaded at like 3:30 in the afternoon, and I was already, trying to get out of work and get to the show. So I was even at the show, and I had no idea that the promo had even happened. So, yeah, they need to get these things in here. Anyways, so this match, Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho for the title. Jericho comes out in his Painmaker makeup. Darby has champ written all over his body where he usually has his body paint and whatnot. Again, Aubrey is the ref for the AEW title match. Oop, just lost my place. Hold on. Right out of the gate, right as the bell rings, Darby hits a shotgun drop kick and then hits a bunch of strikes. He throws Jericho to the outside, hits a high-speed dive. Jericho gets thrown back into the ring, and then Jericho gets a kick-in, back suplex on Darby, and then things kind of slow down at this point. Basic wrestling for a little bit. Excalibur says that there are still rope breaks and submissions, so it's not a no DQ match for the most part. But I mean, for the most part, pretty much everything is allowed, but it's just you can get disqualified for some things. Darby Allin. Has anybody noticed the bottom of his shoes? It looks like there are still some thumbtacks stuck in the bottom of his shoes. I don't know why they're there. It's not like thumbtacks came into this, but there are still some in his shoes. Why doesn't he pull those out? Just something I noticed. I saw these little shiny specks on the bottom of his shoes. Darby is thrown through the turnbuckle, hits the ring post, and flies to the floor. It was just one heck of a bump. And then Darby Allin's out there laying on the floor out by the ramp, and his head is actually under the barricade. And Jericho does like a slingshot type of move and just like bends him over his knees, and like his head goes up into the bottom of the barricade, and the barricade lifts up. And then Jericho goes over to the bell and rings the bell himself and raises his hands, declaring himself the winner. Obviously, the match is not over. Jericho drops Darby across the top of the barricade a couple times, and then Jericho actually goes and grabs Darby's skateboard that is sitting in the corner, and he tries to ride it. That was pretty funny. Jericho goes under the ring for some plunder and grabs a kendo stick. One thing that I like that they mentioned on commentary, that the time limit for the match was TV time remaining, so that's always good to mention. I didn't even think about it. I'm like, oh wait, there wasn't a ton of time when the match started. I think there was only like 16 minutes left in the show. So I'm like, oh, this could go to a time limit draw if they only have 16 minutes or something like that. I didn't even think about it because we've been conditioned to not think about time limits, but AEW does have time limits, so they could just hit the end of the show and have a time limit draw, and Jericho would still remain the champion. Jericho hits Darby across the back with the kendo stick. I don't know where it came from. Darby is bleeding from the back of the head at this point. Looks like he's got some scrapes, small cuts on the back of his head. Don't know where they came from. Jericho goes to the second rope to kind of do like a overhead swing of the kendo stick, but Darby punches him in the stomach at this point. He gets in a flurry of shots. Darby grabs the kendo stick and gets a few shots in on Jericho. He does a springboard splash. He hits the ropes facing the ropes, and then he kind of twists back around to do a splash. He's done it a couple times now. Very cool. And then from the pin, he rolls into an armbar attempt, but then Jericho rolls that into a Walls of Jericho, but Darby Allin is right on the ropes immediately right there. But Jericho delays releasing it Aubrey starts yelling at Jericho after he finally does release it, that, he's got to release the hold. While this is going on, Darby grabs the kendo stick and he brains Jericho when he turns around and comes back to Darby Allin. Jericho then hits a code breaker for a 2 count when Darby Allin ends up grabbing the rope to break the pin. Jericho rolls to the outside, grabs a chair, comes back in, hits Allin a couple times with it, and then he wedges it over in the corner. It looks like Jericho's going to try to lawn dart Darby into the chair that's wedged in, but Darby does this flip over stunner. He gets a 2 count. Jericho puts on the walls of Jericho and is sitting way back into it. He is like really bending Darby backwards. But Darby gets to the ropes to break up the submission attempt. Jericho then grabs a roll of tape from underneath the ring. Jericho uses the tape to then bind Darby Allin's hands behind him. This is kind of where it gets a bit nuts, and it actually shows how athletic Darby Allin is, because even with his hands behind his back, he still gets some pretty awesome moves in. After he gets his hands tied up, Jericho does like a couple hip tosses, but actually grabbing him by his head. And then Darby hits a springboard lion salt with his hands behind his back. Jericho rolls to the outside, and then Darby Allin does a cannonball dive through the ropes to the outside onto Jericho. His hands are still behind his back. Jericho rolls back into the ring. Darby Allin goes to the top rope and hits a corkscrew senton. And then Jericho hits a clothesline, brings the skateboard into the ring, power bombs Darby Allin onto the skateboard. 1, 2, kick out. Allin is still in it. Jericho swings and misses with a chair. Darby hits a drop kick into the chair, into Jericho. And then while the ref is checking on Jericho, Darby Allin climbs up to the top rope like he's going to give a coffin drop to Jericho. But Jake Hager comes out, punches Darby Allin while he's up on the top rope, and then Jericho puts on the walls of Jericho. And I'm not sure if there was a verbal tap or not, but the ref calls for the bell, and Jericho retains the AEW Heavyweight Championship. The rest of the Inner Circle comes down, and they're celebrating with a little bit of the bubbly. And that is the end of the show. Again, great effort this week. I was a big fan of the Pac Moxley versus Hangman and Omega match. Excellent match. This match here, Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho. Allin is super talented, and doing the stuff that he did with his hands behind his back was amazing. And that's it. I mean, this guy should be a star, and I don't know how good he is on the mic. There was the promo that I was talking about that was put online. The promo was great. Of course, it could have been, I don't know how many takes it was or anything like that. But again, we need some of this character building, because a lot of these people are new to the scene. I mean, some of these people I am not familiar with at all. The people who came through from Japan, like Hangman Page and Omega, I know. Jericho, obviously, everybody knows, and Pac and Moxley. But, a lot of these people, we have Britt Baker, Riho. We don't know much about them, and we haven't seen any promos from them. And we need to get this development going here, because we're 3 weeks in, and there are a lot of people that we really know nothing about other than what they're doing in the ring. And that needs to be built up some more so we can care about these people. It was very interesting that there was the squash match with Santana and Ortiz. It was just a straight squash. And again, one thing that I really liked about this was the Cody vignette that they did. They need to produce more vignettes like this, because it was excellent, and It really helps move the story forward, lets you know who Cody is, what he's about, what he's thinking, how he acts. And the best things have been produced about Cody. So there was the Road to, which one was it? The All Out, Road to All Out, where they had the contract signing with Shawn Spears and Cody. Best vignette they did going into All Out. And now again, Cody has the best vignette here. So we need to see more of these, because the vignettes that they did for Road to All Out, the Road to TNT, were great. And I have no idea why they are not putting them into the show, because we know they can do it. And then we know that they're good at making excellent vignettes after seeing those. They just need to incorporate it into the show. Other things just about this show, commentary, I didn't notice anything that stood out that was really weird. Again, JR and Excalibur work great together. Tony sounds like he is having a blast and he loves being there. So I can't fault anybody for that. Nothing huge there. And overall, I thought the show was very good. Really, no huge complaints. We had that one little thing with Pentagon tagging in while he was already standing in the ring. But that is what it is. All right, so there it is. That is what happened on AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite this week. If you're listening to this on podcast, this was live over on the YouTube channel right after the show. So if you want to see this show live, you can head over to YouTube and search That's Wrestling. Also, the link to the channel is in the podcast description. If you would like this as a podcast version, because you're watching it on YouTube, you can search it on all your favorite podcast platforms, or you can head over to thatswrestling.com and pick up the RSS feed over there. If you'd like to send me a message, you can email Eric at thatswrestling.com. You can also find me over on Twitter at thatswrestling1. That's with the number 1. Somebody else got the other one, so that's what it is. All right, so plans coming up. I have written out all my notes for my King of Pro Wrestling review. It is very long, and I didn't have time to record it before AEW went on air today, so I will be recording it sometime tomorrow, so that will be up. There's also 8 matches in the Super Junior Tag League tournament that will have aired by tomorrow afternoon as well. So I will get a review out for those. So look for King of Pro Wrestling tomorrow, most likely. And then the 8 tournament tag matches probably on Friday or Saturday. So until then, I will see you next time on That's Wrestling. Thanks a lot, guys.